365 Days of Horsemanship, day 160. So I am really proud of myself today. I stretched my boundaries in lots of little ways and had some really interesting sessions. So I started off with Lawrence. I did about half an hour with Lawrence. I was aiming to do about 45 minutes when I arrived, but I'm actually really happy with what I've done because it's actually quite cold today. It really feels autumnal, and I decided to stick it out with my barefoot journey as well that I've been on. I really find that it helps with my gait, the way I move. It's helping with my ankle stability, and I just feel that it helps me rush less and be more careful about the way that I move, because I think I set quite a bad example for my horses in terms of the way that I move. And I think particularly with freedom-based training, I feel like because it takes so long, I really can't afford not to be setting a good example, because then, you know, I'm losing that opportunity to influence them essentially in a positive way, or in a way that I feel is positive for them. So I initially came in and I did like half an hour just in the field with him, freedom-based training. And I came in with the goal that I was going to do some distance work and some work up close with rocking him into a better feeling. So I came in initially and they were milling around by the feed pens, and I think they were sort of expecting that maybe it would be feed time. He initially sort of came up to see me and I gave him like a little rub, but it didn't really sort of turn into anything. He didn't really seem to want scratches that much. So I kind of kept moving a lot. I felt quite cold, you know, I'd only just come outside. And also I felt just unsure, I think, of where the session was going to take us. And so I really just wanted to keep moving. And so I'm walking around, there's lots of things happening. I'm trying to pick good moments. So things that I would stop moving and go into flow would be like focus changes, category changes, and any kind of like, if you went into any sort of like movement that felt like I could keep up with him. So, and then anything that I was walking in the other direction from, or anything that was triggering me to go from flow into supportive leadership, would be things like he was dominant a couple of times with one of the other horses and I didn't want to get involved with that, or if I felt like another horse was coming up to him, then I would move away. So it was kind of going okay, and I was actually starting to do a little bit of jogging. I really need to get some level of fitness back. I don't really sound like a recreational runner or jogger. I don't really find it that entertaining for me, but potentially that's also, you know, my impatience. And I definitely need to be able to jog and run, which is not something I'm really able to do at the moment. So I really want to build that skill in myself. It's also cold, so it's great to run because it warms me up. And so I'm kind of running a little bit around, just jogging as my supportive leadership instead of walking. And then I noticed that two of the other horses, the lead mare and her sort of current boyfriend, are heading up the hill. And when I'd originally come in, I was thinking, how nice would it be if I could just walk up to the top of the hill and be the first one there and they would all follow me. How cool would that be? You know, that I could take them up past, you know, all of this concern about the feed pens. It's really interesting that it's Sky who did that. She's a very strong lead mare in that herd, and I think she's a pretty good leader as well. I've seen her make some pretty good decisions. And yeah, it was really interesting. Perhaps next time I have that thought come through my head, I should follow it maybe, and then maybe I can be the first, and maybe I'll even inspire her to follow me rather than me following her. But as it happened, they started moving up the hill. I saw Lawrence and his buddy that he was kind of like being dominant with, but then they seemed to be walking together a little bit as well. and he was kind of moving him with them, which I think is maybe potentially, this horse is quite new. He's another one that doesn't tend to like to spend a lot of time in the herd, and I do wonder if Lawrence perhaps was taking the job of like pushing him in with everybody. So he's walking up. I'm looking at them, and I'm remembering something I saw at Elsa's clinic in Poland, where Elsa would encourage people to like run ahead of their horse if they thought they knew where their horse was going, so they could get there first. And I'm like, oh, everyone's walking up the hill. Maybe if I start running, they'll all run with me. And incredibly, it was so cool. I started running, and I'm running. I look behind me, I can see they're walking. And so I film a little bit while they're walking. Keep running. Just so I turn my camera off, of course. They all start running up the hill, and it was such an amazing moment to feel like that we were all connected in this idea that we would go right up to the top. And so we went to the top of the hill. Harry and Lawrence had a lovely little play for a while, which I'm hoping to ask Elsa about what I should do in those situations, because I don't want to be still, because being still is not being in flow, and I'm really happy that he's doing that. But I also feel like if I'm just walking, is that okay, you know? I was trying to walk, in kind of like a relaxed way. Just really calm and sort of like trying to flow, but I'm not sure if that worked out or not. But I don't think it harmed the situation. It seemed to be okay. I definitely, then I played a little longer. I started working on the rocking. I've discovered that his left sort of like hindquarter area is a place that he feels probably the most intolerance. I think he's very like just unsure about it. Definitely he's, you know, not really curious or comfortable actually with me touching him really anywhere. Like, he's fine, it's okay, and he can be in flow with me there, but there's just that little bit of extra tension. And yeah, so I mean, but it's good. It was good. I got a few eye sort of flicks, but it didn't feel like anything mind-boggling or earth-shattering. I need to think about whether or not, I guess it's maybe about patience, about staying in those places for longer, and yeah, just trying to be there when the focus change happens, and perhaps just committing to rocking him all over in different places until we get a good proper category change. I don't know. I mean, it's more training, less freedom, I guess, if he's in sort of a tolerance place. But he seems to be coming quite quickly around to the looking at me with his eyes. So maybe he's not as uncomfortable with it as I think he is. It can be difficult for him because he is more introverted. With Mia, it's way easier because she's much easier to read from the outside. But yeah, it was a good session. I then committed to running basically in circles around him at a distance until he made a category change, which he grazed for a long time while I was running. It was funny, I sort of felt like it was ironic because I was kind of running around him in a circle. I felt like I'd put myself on a circle around my horse, which was fine. It was cool. I was okay with it. And at the end of that, I stopped when he started walking. He started walking in quite a sort of relaxed way over towards the hay. And at that point, I had this sort of like, shouldn't I leave situation. And I sort of took a little walk around, wasn't really sure what to do. And then he did come over and be curious about me. And I touched nose to hand, and then I left. So it was good. And as I was walking away, I did feel kind of disappointed that it had only been half an hour. It had been 25 minutes before I decided to start the running. And at that point I had wanted to leave initially, and then I'd said to myself, just stick it out for another 5 minutes, and then in 5 minutes see how you feel. And that's when I did the running. And then during the running I was like, But I think I'm happy because, half an hour, when it's getting dark and it's cold is very different to, half an hour in the middle of the day in the sunshine, right? So I think I'm just really proud of myself for that. After Lawrence, I went to get Mia. I had a really fun and interesting time haltering her. I feel so much more confident now just being in dominant leadership and being in that dominant place, but also really comfortable with the fact that I am happy just increasing the pressure only as much as I need to be effective. And I'm just so much better now at not bringing my emotions to the horses. And I feel so good about it. Like, the horses for me are where I come to forget about everything else. They are not where I come to take out my emotions about anything else that's going on in the rest of my life. Like, this is where I come to just... And so it doesn't matter to me if it takes ages for me to hold to her. I'm not getting mad about it. It doesn't matter. It's like, I'm not getting frustrated. I'm not feeling impatient. And actually I'm appreciating the human fun of dominance games so much more as well now since I'm doing Elsa's work, because Elsa's work is really for me, the keystone, the foundation, the core understanding of the horse. And it's what really I'm passionate about. But then the dominant training, when I do have something that I want to achieve with that, it's exciting how fast it is. It's exciting that I can decide what I want and then make it happen. I don't have to think about the horse. I do have to think about the horse, but I don't have to concede. I can decide that as the dominant leader, I'm going to put the halter on Mia. And then within that, it takes as long as it takes. And I'm okay with it. And I'm not in a rush. And if we don't halter the whole session, that's okay too. And I came away and I learned something. And I go, why couldn't I halter her? Is it because of the environment? Is it because I had the wrong feel and timing? Should I have done this or this? I'm not bothered. It's not about me achieving the task. It's about being able to play those games. And playing that way. And so that's really cool as well, because that feels like a big piece of the puzzle that I never had before. So basically she was at the hay bale as well. So I would put some rhythmic pressure on her hindquarters, and she would lift her head up like this and then pretty much immediately go back to the hay. And so when she would lift her head up like this away from the hay, I would stop and I would go towards her to try and put the halter on, and she would immediately go back to the hay, and so then I would just start again. And so the pressure was super low, I was literally just touching her to start with, and then the pressure increased a little bit, and then increased a little bit, and then increased a little bit, and it was I would do it 2 or 3 times at least at each level of pressure. And I was hoping I'd be able to come back down. I would always start off quite soft, but then escalate sort of more and more quickly the more times that it was, because she's hoping she can get away with just looking around. And eventually... I was able to put the halter on, and then again it was I didn't switch off immediately. Then I was looking for the next moment. I was looking for the next timing. I'm looking, and she's looking, this way, she's looking that way, and then I see that her focus is going to change again around towards me, and so then that's the moment when I move her, rather than waiting for her to think that maybe now she can eat. And so that was really nice. We walked down, and I just did some work in the arena today, pretty much just walking. And I played with distance on the 12-foot line, because I want to potentially take her out and into the playground and play with the sundial, which is basically a sundial of poles, potentially do a little bit of hill therapy, pole work with her for fitness. But I don't feel I feel the prerequisites for that, for me, are that I'm able to have her at a distance from me and maintain that distance and have her feel okay with that for a length of time. And then following on from that I can have her at a distance on a circle. Because if I can't do that in the arena and have that be okay, I don't have much chance when she's going to be out near the grass, because the grass is going to be a big pull for her, and that's going to be a really dominant conversation. And so I need to feel any distance that I'm at away from her is okay intrinsically, or okay without that extra pressure. So that's really what I'm working on at the moment. And definitely today it was interesting because I was thinking like, I'm trying to push myself when I'm in that place of dominant leadership now, because I'm like, get it done, like go to the next thing. If it's good, push the boundaries, find where it's not good, find the limits, and like pushing myself a little bit more to find those limits. Knowing that when I see that like the edge of that comfort zone for her, then knowing that I can come back, and it's like that approach and retreat, which is obviously like the overarching concept of loads of things. So I felt good about it. I felt like a lot of things really came together for me, probably as well off the back of Pat's clinic as well, which is, you know, obviously super good. I think it's definitely interesting for me. I still don't really know what the end picture looks like for me with dominant training. I think I just sort of, I think because I'm a big dreamer, I'm like very much one of those people who believes anyone can do anything. They really commit themselves. And so I feel like the world is our oyster, my oyster. But I just don't really know what really inspires me, like at the end goal. But perhaps I need to stop focusing on it so much and just focus on where we are now, what I'd like to be able to do right now. And then after I can do that, what's the next thing that I'd like to be able to do, and actually just challenge myself to start doing things. I think the problem is I don't, like, even at those things I go like, well, why do I want to do those things? Why do I want to be able to make my horse go this way or that way or whatever? Like what's in it for me? Like, what's the payoff? You know, like what's in it for me, my horse doing what I want, which sounds crazy, but because for me it's so much about the relationship and about that depth and about that feeling of connection, I think, that I find it difficult to set tasks that I feel motivated to complete with the horse. I guess riding, that feeling of riding where we can do things together, that's something that definitely motivates me. And so maybe that's kind of where I need to put my energies. I'm not sure on the ground what really motivates me. I'm not sure, so I need to have a think about that. But I guess for now I can stick to the good old adage of, well, what motivates me is my horse being fitter and feeling better in their body, and using that as my motivation. So it's a really good day anyway. Lots to think about, definitely, and I'm looking forward to the next sessions this week.